Hello and welcome to the In a Nutshell podcast with myself, Andrew Miles Davis, and my co-host Chris Branch. This is the daily 10-minute podcast where we take out all of the techie talk around generative AI and focus on what the everyday person, content creator, and marketer wants to hear. Now, we've only got 10 minutes, so we can only focus on one subject. And today we're going to talk about a subject that was actually quite interesting because sometimes when we come up with these episodes, we'll be talking about something just generally and we'll say, switch the mics on. And this is going to be one of those switch the mics on because it's based off of a podcast that Chris was listening to that had two of my favorite comedians. One was Dave Chappelle and the other was Louis C.K. And they actually made a statement about something that's really generative AI is going to have a massive effect on. So, Chris, do you want to explain what they were talking about?
So it's very rare that these two big comedians will be in the same room talking to one another in an interview style way. And it was quite serious, it wasn't just banter. It was talking about how rare it is what they can do. And they were talking about other arena acts around the world that essentially are very rare inside countries. Somebody that will consistently sell out a venue and does all of their own writing and performs it on a stage. Now, the specific thing that interested me the most was the writing part, like how rare it is and how much we value the writing of these individuals to make them multi-millionaires. And this bleeds into marketing copywriting because it's what can make or break a brand, right? And some of the best people of all time in marketing have been copywriters. And one of the first things we experienced in generative AI was the ability to generate copywriting before we could generate images, and now through Sora, before we could generate video, it was copywriting. And yet this was probably one of the most sought after, rarest skills amongst all of marketing was copywriting. And so many copywriters are finding issue with it right now.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said that because one of the things that when it comes to training, so I do a lot of training on general things, but sometimes I get like asked for very specific things.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say I've had more people ask me to do training for writing for web than anything else, like outside of like video and images, etc. And it goes back to that lost art of writing, and the likes of OpenAI and ChatGPT and all of the other large language models, you're almost going to be you'd almost be led to believe that writing is almost a thing of the past.
Mm-hmm.
It's prompt writing. That's what we're going to create.
Mm-hmm.
But like with design, and something that I kind of realized after watching a lot of the image generators, the best image generators were designers. I often say that the people that will get the best content out of the platforms are going to be the writers because they know exactly how to write to get what they want.
Yes.
And if you look at Dave Chappelle, Louis C.K., Chris Rock, Seinfeld, like all of these big comedians, what they all have in common is that they all have people who write their jokes for them. Kevin Hart as well. They'll have a team of people who write their jokes for them. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me what you said there, like about that being one of the hardest skills to have.
Absolutely. And like one of the big things that comedians are really good at is editing, because they want to get the least possible words out to be the funniest possible punchline.
Yeah.
So it's about taking people's copywriters' notes and then really, getting rid of all the fat and just keeping it a lean, mean joke. Now, you're absolutely right when you say that copywriters are the ones to use large language models most successfully, because when a large language model spits you out a template of text and you're not a copywriter, how do you edit this to be the best possible version of itself? You can't, right? Like you need to have the skills to have written it in the first place in order to edit it down. So yeah, I feel like with all AI, it's just an extension of your skill set and it can help you be faster at what you do. And if it's a true next word prediction of how you've written it anyway, then it's true to you as well. So that's the big difference, is that copywriters don't really know how to train an AI model on their own copywriting in order to predict their next copywriting and just become their own editors. That's really it.
I think that's the key, is editors. I think what we're going to, editing is going to be even more important Because if you look at it, I'll never forget,
Definitely.
somebody was talking about, I can't remember who said it, and they were talking about comedians. And they were saying that naturally, Dave Chappelle is the funniest comedian,
Mm.
but Chris Rock selects the best jokes. And I actually
Mm.
agree with that. I think Chris Rock, when I watch his stand-ups, I think he selects the best jokes because comedians like musicians, they'll have 50 songs.
Mhm.
Say a musician will have 50 songs and they'll bring 14 of them for an album. Comedians, they'll have 50 jokes and then they'll kind of do loads of different small comedy clubs to try and work out what works.
Mhm.
And Chris Rock selects that the best. So his editing or his team of editors, whoever, is the best that I've seen because his stand-ups
Mhm.
are from his first early ones like Bring the Pain all the way to his last one on Netflix. All of them are spot on when it comes to the joke selection. And I
Mm.
think that when it comes to the likes of ChatGPT or Claude 3 or any of the ones, it's going to be, yes, the prompt is going to play a very big part, but it's the editing, the
Mm.
editor, being an editor. That's another role that you're going to have to kind of morph into as well.
And we've already seen this, with art direction and images, because everybody that works now with Midjourney very frequently, like us, you're no longer an executioner, you're an ideator,
Mm,
So it's the opposite in the image case, because you come up with all the ideas and AI makes them.
yeah.
In the copywriting space is you take all of AI's ideas and you edit them. So it's like, it's the opposite way around, but we're all having to rethink about where we're most useful in the pipeline, and that's fascinating.
Yeah. The other thing as well that you mentioned is that the comedians, you said that only what 100 globally can fill out
Yeah,
arenas, which when you
yeah,
think
and
about
that's
it,
being generous, probably.
that's being generous. I actually think that was quite high. I actually thought it would be
Yeah, yeah,
less
it
than
may
that
be
can fill
fewer
out
than
arenas.
that. Yeah.
But as you mentioned as well, this was you said off the podcast, so you haven't mentioned this earlier on. A lot of it would be like local, so you might have people in China,
Mm.
comedians in China that no one's outside of China's heard of, or even outside of their kind of areas heard of, but
Hmm.
they're huge in their area
Hmm.
that could fill out arenas. But the reason why I'm saying that is because your writing skills, but then being able to execute the writing in performance. So that also means the audio and how you deliver the jokes plays a very, very big part because you could give me the words and I could go on stage and it's not going to be the same as if Dave Chappelle delivers it or
Wow.
Louis
Yeah.
C.K. or someone else. So again, it's kind of like, I would say it's like it's a mixture of well, a few things. One, the content that's created, so the creation.
Hmm.
Secondly, how you deliver it, but then also from a if you're going to fill out arenas, the marketing as well.
Mm.
This is kind of slightly going away from the Gen AI because if everyone's got the same script, why is it that some people can do what a pub,
Hmm.
20, 30 people in there, and some people can fill out a 50,000 arena. Same
Hmm.
information, same jokes, same scripts. So that's where you kind of go into like the marketing of yourself,
Hmm.
which obviously you can do with some Gen AI stuff, but I think that's almost like some of the things that Gen AI, in this case, Chat GPT and some of the large language models can't necessarily do.
Mm.
So that's where it's like, for me, it's you kind of looking at it, you got the skill set there, but
Mm.
the marketing outside of the Gen AI stuff.
Yeah, and it's just it's very interesting to think now that we're almost 2 years into the Gen AI explosion, that copywriting was such a rare skill that we'd lost over time, and WhatsApp and other places had even accelerated this, with
Mm.
text talk and we not having our full vocabulary. Sadly, there's been quite a lot of studies that have recently shown that Gen Z have the worst vocabulary of all of the generations coming before it, because simply it's not required in order to interact with the things that we do daily like it used to be.
Yeah.
And so it's becoming less necessary in life to use it, and therefore it becomes less necessary to learn it. But this is going to hold them back when it comes to using Gen AI, because the bigger vocabulary you have, the better prompt engineering you have. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of like a catch-22, in that you need
Yeah.
a good vocab to use it, and yet they've been trained out of it because of all of the
Yeah.
tech before them. So
It's gone full
difficult
circle.
situation.
It's gone full circle.
Yeah, full circle. And in a nutshell, for this one, copywriting's rare. We didn't know we needed it. and now everyone has it. So like use that very powerfully to your advantage. If you didn't have a copywriter before, you now have large language models that can help you with this thing. Same goes with lots of AI. It's enabling things that we didn't have before.
And also remember, editors, that's also a key thing, being able to edit.
Transferable skills, definitely.